Okay. Thank you all for being here for the first of the Wish You Were Here sharing presentations. We have, I think it's 9 people sharing, and we have quite a good number of audience members. We're thrilled to have people who want to come and see what we're doing. This is being recorded, as you know. And I'm just going to get started with our first presenter, who is Bonnie Thompson. So I'm going to spotlight Bonnie and ask her to unmute herself, and she'll start her presentation.
Good morning. First of all, I want to thank Laurel and all the other people who organized this Wish You Were Here project. It's pretty spectacular that we could, it's one of the benefits of that horrible pandemonium year that we've been going through endlessly, that we can connect online and that we have email and these video conferences. And this is yet another example of what Laurel and all the others of her team have done. And I really thank you. I've met people and seen work that I wouldn't have seen otherwise, and I really appreciate it. So having said that, the theme Wish You Were Here, you know, we all sort of immediately go to someplace when we hear that phrase. It's a kind of a canned phrase, and we all, it connotes sharing, because we want someone else to experience that notion of wish you were here with me. And I often, whatever the theme is, I often pivot to the issues of the day and the concerns that I share about those issues. So I first started by writing a postcard, and I can read you this postcard. It wasn't, it was too specific. So I pivoted a little bit. The postcard would have said, "Dear George, on the way home today, I stopped at the neighborhood convenience store and picked up some snacks for later. Dear Brianna, it was lovely getting such a good night's sleep after such a long work shift. I feel so rested and refreshed. Dear Tamir, yes, a play date with my grandsons would be great. They're looking forward to playing video games with you. Dear Philando, I hope you and your family have a good trip. Drive safely and see you soon." And that just seemed too pointed and too obvious of what I was trying to say, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe people just wouldn't have gotten it. So let's see if I'm capable of doing this. Oh, so instead, this first one that you see, and it's one that went through the mail and came back to me. I did not mind at all the fact that things were not pristine when they arrived home. It's okay. The post office handles them. They get seen by a lot of people. The point of sending something is to travel. And so this is a well-worn travel. And I have printed the names of a number of people, of the more than 2,000 people who were killed by the police last year, most of whom were people of color, most of whom were young Black men. And so I printed their names and their ages, and I set the type by hand for each one of those. And I set the type, the line, "I wish you were here," each time. So I have that much type for one thing, but I wanted to be able to sort of do my own mantra and my own acknowledgement of each of these individuals by setting that line, "I wish you were here." So those are just a few of the names. And then this is what my life is like. I'm lucky, and I don't even know where to begin to count my blessings. My children are healthy and have good jobs. My grandchildren are doing well in school and in life. My friends have weathered the past year without getting the virus. We've all stayed in touch often. I have 2 of the best dogs ever who shadow me around everywhere and keep me busy and entertained. I have a studio at home where I can play every day as much as I want. It's spring and my garden is awakening with blue and purple flowers everywhere with a pop of orange poppies waving like happy flags. And I don't want to forget that others cannot enjoy life as I can. I wish they were here. So that's my card. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you,
That is
Bonnie.
really powerful and beautiful.
Thank you.
Bonnie, I received your card in the mail and it touched me. It teared me up. You know, it was, I thought it was beautiful and eloquent and done in just such an elegant way to remind us of the bad stuff that's happening, but also, you know, the count our blessings thing. And I really applaud you for it.
Thank you. I was really hoping that people wouldn't find it off-putting or too much of a downer, because I think the spirit was intended to be a little more lighthearted, but I never seem to be able to pivot in that direction, or I don't always pivot in that direction. But I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm touched by your response.
Thank you. There are 2 messages in the chat. Bobby Wilson says, wow. And Jay says, Bonnie, what a beautiful and moving and profound and thoughtful piece of art and memory.
Thank you very much.
Bentley says, lovely. So you can see those and appreciate them. Yeah. And I'm just going to mention here for everyone, especially the presenters, at any point, if you want to save the chat, you can do that by clicking on the chat. In the lower right corner of the chat, there are 3 dots. And if you click on that, there is an option that says save chat, and it will go into Zoom will create a folder on your computer called Zoom, and it will put it in there. It's a text file. It's very rough, but you can have it. The caveat is if you save it at this moment right now, it only saves it from now backwards. It doesn't save anything going forwards. So I always try to save it as I'm exiting the meeting. Another thing is you can have your Zoom account set to always save the chat. And that becomes an automatic save, which I have done because I always forget to hit save at the end and then regret it. So that's what I say. Andrea Factor is asking if we can see your card one more time.
Okie dokie. So that's the back of the card. And I don't, somehow or other, something's in front of this. So did everybody else address a card to themselves, or did they just?
No, we all did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's my card to myself. And I've been not collecting stamps as a stamp collector. It's just that when stamps are issued and I like the images, I've been buying extra of them and putting them in a notebook. And so I've got several notebooks full of stamps. And for the ones that I don't care that much about, I've begun to use them. And so some of those are vintage postcard stamps, vintage being just a few years old and not recently issued. But so some of those postcard stamps that you got may not be current ones.
Yeah.
So those are the names of the people. And it's shocking that, 12-year-olds and,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie. As I said, there are a number of beautiful messages for you, and I hope that you read them.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Bonnie before I our next person will be Virginia, just giving Virginia a heads up, no rush.
I appreciate your comments. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna spotlight Virginia. And hi, Virginia.
Hi, I think I'm unmuted, am I not?
We can hear you.
Okay, I will see if I can get myself screen shared. Okay. Second, Bonnie's accolades for the full job you've been doing, Laurel. I just can't imagine doing what you've done. It's my hat is off to you.
Thank you.
And a whole lot of people that helped, but
Yeah.
especially you.
Yeah, no, I've had a great committee. I really have had a fantastic committee. And I've got a couple of the other presenters, hosts for these Zoom meetings are here. I know Lorraine is here and Bobby is here, and I apologize if I'm missing. I don't think Amy and Becky are here, but they'll be hosting upcoming meetings as well. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm presenting my book in a slideshow. So here is the front cover. So I used Christina's lovely logo as the front cover. It's just a simple accordion fold book structure. Well, maybe not quite so simple once we get inside. And here is a somewhat of an overview. So I chose to make the accordions with cutouts and suspend the postcards inside the cutouts. And I made the structure. The people that I've showed this to so far have all said, how did you do that? So I thought I would start with showing you how the structure is made and then go on to the contents. I started with an 8x8 size format, square format, so that I could accommodate both the landscape and the portrait postcards. So on the left side of this image, you can see that the top margin is 2 inches tall and the sides are 1 inch. And then in about the middle of the screen, there are some portrait postcards where the top margin is 1 inch and the left and right margins are 2 inch. So that is all I had to do to accommodate the different orientations of postcards. And this slide shows a top-down view of the postcards as they're suspended in the windows and how they can swing around so you can just read both sides with a flick of a finger. And if the images are slow to load or anything, please let me know.
I think
They're
they're fine.
showing up at reasonable pace, then I'll just keep on going.
Just keep going.
This one is a diagram. I thought I'd throw that in just so the structure could be seen of how it was constructed, because we're book artists. So knowing how to put it together is, at least to me, is very interesting. So all I did was make I cut 16 wide by 8 inch tall pieces of paper. I used Jie Tian. And then I folded them in half and then nested them so that the ends of one folded sheet would tuck into the valley fold of an opposite one. And I made a sandwich that I could then keep the threads in between the sandwich and then the postcard suspended. And on each end, I had an extra page sticking out, which I used as the end paper to stick onto the cover. Here's a close-up of how I suspended each postcard. This is just regular sewing thread with a tiny hole bored to the top and the bottom of each postcard, and then also another one in one piece of the frame. And then the other piece is glued on the backside so that it hides the threads on the inside between the sandwich. And then we carry on with the content. So the first picture here has the very first postcard
Virginia?
on the left is
Virginia, I
a
wanna-
wonderful one. Yes.
Can you explain again what you said about the string hiding? Because I wasn't quite clear. So,
Okay. I'm going to back up one more here then to the diagram.
yeah.
So each of the panels, it has a cutout in it. These don't show the cutouts, but there's two pieces of paper that end up getting glued together. There's the way that I've sandwiched these two. I tied the thread on through one so that the threads were coming out the backside. I actually used a tiny piece of tape to hold them in place. And then I glued the backing on.
Ah,
So that the second piece, I'd already cut out the holes in them, the frames. So the windows were already in there, but then I glued the second sheet on top of the thread that was on the backside of the first sheet. Does that help make any? I wish I had a pointer, but does that make more sense?
yes, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll go back to the content. Okay, so to start with, on the left, I was just amazed that this postcard by Patty Pitts from San Diego Book Arts came through the mail unscathed, because bottom, the SoCal, she did a beautiful collage with digital collage. And there's a slit right to the right of the L in Cal, and there's a little tiny pointy tab sticking out of that slit, and that is a little lever that pops her image up out of the top, which is open, except that I tied it shut with my thread, but she was still able to pop out. I just thought that was the best clever thing I'd ever seen. And I had no idea that that kind of a thing would go through the mail. In the center is a lovely collage by Carol Pava of Santa Fe Book Arts Group. And on the right is also from Santa Fe Book Arts Group. Douglas Rankin made this lovely watercolor painting, and part of it, the earth colored part, is actually made out of homemade dirt paint. He actually mixes the dirt into a paste specific to his home. On the left in this slide, On Gates of Puget Sound Book Arts created a beautiful cyanotype of pressed lichen. And on the right is, of course, I'm getting a frog, Liz Nanya Bailey from New England Book Arts. And this is a hand-colored inkjet print. And it was a very interesting little story about Boston's favorite lesbian swan couple. Who knew? In this one, this image, here we have a side-by-side example of incorporating both landscape and portrait postcards, right easily seen. All you have to do is change the shape of the frame. On the left, Amy Lee Pineo from Bay Area Book Artists. It's a watercolor and collage. Oh, this was sort of a nostalgic piece for her. On the right, Kathy Preskop of San Diego Book Arts is a cactus print. I think it's a stamp. She did not say if it was a stencil or a stamp or exactly what, but the edges are very unique in that it's embossed foil, which I was amazed that went through the mail too, but no problem. Here on the left, Renata Klein of New England Book Artists made this beautiful print of fish with oil transfer, solvent, ink stamps, and watercolor. And on the right is my own postcard. It's the only one out of the whole group that the post office. The lesson that I came out with, I think, why that happened is that it had more white on the front than on the other side, because I wrote quite an essay about the monarch butterflies and an effort in my neighborhood to create a habitat for them. So this was all watercolor pencil and ink.
Virginia, what was the issue with the postcard, with the post office? I missed that.
Oh, on the side of the butterfly postcard here, you
Yeah,
can see the strip of paper. It's actually, it has slightly, it's their routing slip. It's supposed to go on the other side. We were told to leave 5/8 inch at the bottom of the address side so they could get a routing number on there. They put it on the other side anyway on mine. And I think because there's more white on the front than there is on the back, I think their sensors figure out which way the postcard is facing. And they thought this was got to be the back because there was more darkness on the other side. Because I wrote an essay. So in this image, on the left is Yvonne Perez Collins of San Diego Book Arts. It's a beautiful eco-dyed paper and a leaf stamp. The leaf at the top is actually three-dimensionally stamped on there. And then the right is Ann Porter, also San Diego Book Arts. She wood stained some cover board and then she collaged and stamped, and it was a beautiful little story about the first, actually now I can't remember what her position, anyway, the woman in the picture, she was admiral or something, anyway.
It was a women's rowing team or crew.
Rowing team, that's right, thank you.
Sure.
I appreciate the prompt. But anyway, it was a neat story.
Can you get off?
And then, what's that?
Go ahead. I think somebody just accidentally.
Okay, this one. Okay. In this one, Nancy Sedlacek of Puget Sound Book Artists did a two image weaving, paper weaving of mountains and wheat fields in Washington. And the white clouds in the sky are courtesy of the US Post Office ripping it. So they helped out on that one. They participated in the collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
On the right is a painting that Diane Cheshire of Paperworks turned into a postcard. Now, if you've got a really good eye, you might notice that the size of that frame on that page is slightly different than the one on the left. When she gave the artwork to a postcard printing company so that she could turn her painting into postcards, they changed the size on her. It wasn't 4x6 after all. I don't remember the exact dimensions, but slightly narrower and taller. But with this particular Book Arts frame, it was easy to accommodate. And this is the, no, it isn't quite the last one, but the next, close to the end. The first picture is, the first postcard is by Ariella Sophie Sternberg, Puget Sound Book Artists, lovely. And on the right is Mary Elizabeth Nelson from North Redwoods Book Arts Guild. It's a, the image is printed by inking fresh and dried leaves, which I thought was lovely. And the last one is Gina Pisello of San Diego Book Artists. a lovely woven paper image of her neighborhood aerial view and a map. And then the last image I have is just a shot of some of the back sides of the postcards where they can swing around and you can read them in the frames. And that is what I have. So I'm going to stop sharing now. And we're ready to.
Yeah. Thank you,
Any
Virginia.
questions or?
I'm gonna.
Virginia, I've never seen that book structure before, and I just love it. Bravo.
Well,
I
thank
can't wait
you.
to try it.
Well, it came from a workshop by one of our members in May and June. This is a little mini book that I created. And she did the structure with the threads just slightly differently, but it was enough to get me going.
It's such a wonderful, it has so many features, showing front and back, accommodating landscape versus portrait, the simplicity of it, you know, it's a wonderful structure. That's fantastic.
Well, thank you. I really do love structures. Is one of my favorite parts of book arts.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Does anybody have any more questions or comments for Virginia before Gina shares with us? And again, Virginia, there are a lot of lovely comments in the chat, so please make a point of reading those.
I will go do that. Thank you.
Okay, Gina, are you ready to share?
I am. Good morning, everyone. Virginia and I had this, both in group 9, so I'm not going to go through each individual postcard. She did an excellent job of describing the wonderful diversity of postcards, but I will share my book structure and talk a little bit about my postcard. So let me do that. Okay, so can everybody see my desktop?
Yes.
All right. So I made a custom designed book and book cover for my structure. Several of the postcards were portrait, which means they're vertical, and then the rest of, I think 3 were vertical and the rest were horizontal. And I wanted to accommodate them into a single structure. And I also hand sewed this log cabin quilt block structure for the cover to just sort of give all my postcards a warm hug, because it was so nice to get postcards from all over the country and just feel like I, you know, this group was giving me, was welcoming me, and I wanted to hug them all. So anyway, I made a cozy cover. So that's this image, and then that's all of my postcards. This is how I imagined the book being shown if we ever do an actual show, but it's quite large, so I might have to do it slightly differently. You might recognize some of the postcards that Virginia just showed, but I did it in such a way that I placed the tall ones next to each other and in the, you know, sort of centered, and those front 2, the butterfly one and the leaf print one, they're not connected. So this joint is open, but everywhere else, and I'll show you, I think in the next picture you can see it better, I used thread to sew like a blanket stitch along each edge of the postcards, and then I crocheted them together. So, oh, I guess I have a couple of pictures of just all the postcards, so I'll go through this quickly. And just like Virginia, I was amazed at Patty's postcard, not only making it through the mail with unscathed, but just the cleverness of it blew me away. And a few more pictures of, so the nice thing about the structure is it can be shown in a lot of different ways. So if I go back to this one, I've spiraled I've just sort of spiraled all the postcards together, and then in this one, they can be accordion folded. So I like the flexibility of the structure. And then this is my postcard. I did 4 different types of postcards. I did 4 of each and sent them out. So, but they were all collaged with just papers that I love. And some of them had maps of San Diego or of, you know, Carlsbad here where I live. And it was just really fun to create. I thinking about, I couldn't do 16 of the same one. I wanted to do this one 16 times. I did not have enough of these papers to do it. So that's why I ended up doing 4 different structures. And I just wrote a little something to everyone. It was the same thing. If I can find mine real quick. I wrote, I wish you were here to see the birds fly, to hear the waves shush, to find some sea glass, to smell the salt air, but mostly I just wish you were here. So that was what I wrote. And then this image shows you, you can kind of see the binding that I did to hold the pages together. I just did a simple single crochet chain stitch through the loops between the 2 postcards, and kind of had to invent it as I went along. But that looks like the last image. So anyway, if you have any questions, I will stop sharing my screen. And that was that.
That is so beautiful, Gina. And I love your message.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Gina before we move on to Karen? No rush. Gina, there are lovely messages in the chat.
Thank you. I will read them.
Okay. Okay. Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hi. Everyone else is saying good morning, but here in Michigan, it's good afternoon. It's about 1:30, and I'm happy to be here to share my book with you. This is, let's see, can you see?
That's good. That's good.
Okay, this is my book. It's called All Over the Map because there were postcards from the Southwest, the Northeast, the South, the North, the Southeast, and a couple of us in the Midwest, like me in Michigan. And I must say, when I got my postcards, I had several ideas about how I was going to put them together. And accommodate, in order to accommodate both the landscape and the portrait aspects of the postcards. And so I had several thoughts on it, but finally decided upon an accordion structure. And I must say that Virginia Phelps and I must be sisters under the skin, because I did exactly the same thing that she did. Unbeknownst, I don't think she stole from me and I didn't steal from her, but great minds must think alike. Anyway, I put mine together with maps of the area where the postcard came from. And since it's my book, I put my postcard first. I have a hand paper making studio in Ann Arbor. And so I made the handmade paper postcard and then a thin sheet of handmade paper on which I could put through my laser printer with a picture of Carytown on it. And at Carytown is kind of a small little shopping center in old buildings repurposed in Ann Arbor. And this is a bell tower. And if you come to Ann Arbor, you can play the bells. The public can play the bells 3 times a week. You play by number. So all of the levers that actuate the sound of the bells are numbered, and you can play any number of songs on them. So that was my postcard, and I did arrive. I had not seen any other. I didn't take the workshop or whatever, but I came up with this structure, and my thought was to display it with so that the postcards went, let's see now, here we go. So that they would go in pairs like this and zigzag through the accordion structure.
But of course, when you display it like that, it extends to about 6 feet, which was beyond my capacity for taking a picture of. So I ended up saying, okay, well, we can also read it like a book. And these are the postcards that I received. This one is from Lee Mann in Albuquerque, New Mexico. This is from Long Beach, California, Melissa Rash. This one is from Swampscott, Massachusetts. Trudy Olivetti was the artist. And this is from someone in Tacoma, Washington, Deborah Greenwood. And this one is from Tampa, Florida, Judith Patterson, who I think maybe is here today. And this one from Downingtown, Pennsylvania, Emmy Nelson, who I know is also here. So here's your lovely postcard with the leaf print on them. And then this is from Redmond, Washington, Lynn Olson. And this is Charlotte Charpentier, if I'm saying your name correctly.
Carpentier.
Carpentier, okay. From who is, I think, present today also. And then this is Laurel's, whoops, my platform is drooping. This is Laurel's on the right here of from San Diego, from a sculpture that's on the UC San Diego campus, which I have actually seen and visited, so that meant a lot. And this is from Carlsbad, California, Barbara Markovitz. And this is Patsy Monk from Parrish, Florida, with an added plume of the flamingo that she has pictured. I thought it was sort of like the flamingo casting off its opera cape or something. And this with the nasturtiums is from Watsonville, California, Catherine Niven. And you've seen this one before, I think, from Bonnie Thompson Nelson. And this one is from Cupertino, California, Marilyn Howard. And this is the last one, which is from Krista Neese from Oro Valley, Arizona. And she actually called me she wasn't able to mail her postcards on time. And so she called to say that they would be coming, and she was at the Grand Canyon at the time. And we had quite a conversation about Ann Arbor because apparently her husband graduated from the University of Michigan. Turned out that he and I were on campus at the same time, and we discussed a professor that we both had. So this whole project has been lots of fun, and I feel like I have lots of pen pals all over the map. Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. Jay was wondering what the size of your book is.
Well, it's on the order of 8 by 8, the same as Virginia's. Maybe it was 7.5, I can't remember, but close to 8 by 8 to accommodate the horizontal and the vertical postcards. So Virginia, you and I must have some connection.
That's wonderful. There are a lot of lovely comments in the chat, so please make sure that you read those. Does anybody have any additional questions or comments for Karen before we ask Vicky to share with us? Okay. Vicky, I'm going to, okay, you're spotlighted, Vicky.
Okay. I know this picture is kind of pink. I'm not that pink.
It's okay. Don't worry.
It'll work. It'll work. Anyway, I'm Vicky DeLong. I'm actually a ceramic artist, doing that for like 25 years or something. And then a few years ago, I decided I need to do book arts because San Diego Book Arts came to Front Porch Gallery where I work and had a beautiful exhibit, California Natives. And looking through all those books, it's like, I have to start making them. So last year, I guess it was, I joined San Diego Book Arts so I could do this project with everybody. So here's my book. I looked up book structures online and found a mini card album with bellows because I knew the bellows would hold the cards. And here is what I ended up with closed. You open it up with little Velcro, and there are all the cards that fit into the bellows. I hope they don't fall out. There they are. Can you guys see them?
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm going to close it up.
yeah.
It's actually fashioned so that it would sit on a table with it opened so that you can see all the cards.
Yes.
Right.
That's similar to a workshop that Bhavna Mehta just gave.
Oh,
Called it something like a cutout garden book or something.
I'll have to look.
You
for
go
that.
to the website, just look at the photos. It's similar. It's not exactly the same, but it's very close. Yeah.
Okay, and I chose this paper. It's just paper covered over cardboard. I chose the paper because all the postcards were nature, of course. And I added this on the side, all of our logos for the groups. And this side is this logo. Oh, can you see that?
Yes.
I'm not a big talker. Most of whoever knows me, I don't talk much. And then I can't see what I'm doing here. And this is kind of like the colophon. It explains what the book is and explains my postcard, what I did. And my postcard is this one. I'm an artist at Spanish Village Art Center in San Diego. So these are the tiles, my interpretation of all the tiles on the patio. And the other side, this is the one I mailed to myself. And then wrote, you probably can't read that, but I put some of this inside the book. Or if you guys want me to read it, I can do that.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'll talk some more. Spanish Village Art Center, one of my favorite places in San Diego. This postcard depicts the colored tiles on the outdoor patio at the center, where I've been an artist member since 1997. This is my inspirational place where I can connect with other artists and create my handmade books and ceramic art. Stop by Studio 16B and say hi. And I wrote hand-painted tiles and acrylic paint, details with ink and colored pencil, Strathmore watercolor paper, 140 pound, cold press 4x6, 2021.
Vicky, Emmy Nelson here. Which group were you in?
Number 4, I think. Yeah, I think it was number 4.
Yeah, pretty.
Because I don't see, I looked through all the people that are here and I don't, except Andrea. She was in my group. And that was it.
Okay.
That's here.
I'm here. I'm Maria.
And Maria, are you out there? Because I can't see everybody. You guys have any questions about what I did? No?
Okay.
I loved your postcard. Your postcard is
Oh, thank you. I made them all the same. It was fun.
Vicky, beautiful. Thank you. Andrea, I treasure your card.
Okay. Vicky, there are a couple of messages for you in the, Gina Pisello is saying, great structure, Vicky, and nice to see you making books. So thank you very much. Does anybody have any more questions or comments for Vicky before we have Susan Agnew share her books? Okay. Let me find Susan. Oh, there she is. Okay, I'm going to replace the spotlight. There we go. Sue Agnew. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just got nervous. I'm not this pink usually either. Just want you to know. Okay. Okay. So I'm from Paperworks in Tucson. And these are my postcards. I did the top one, and then after I had done about 6 or 7 or 8, I got tired of doing it. So I did 3 more because Paperworks has a postcard exchange as well. And I thought if I did 3 extras, then I could have 3 to send to my own local pals as well. And then I did the second card, and again, I made 8 plus 3. And none of them got lost. So that was kind of cool. And when I moved here, I had lived in the Pacific Northwest. And so when I moved to Arizona, I was just fascinated by how much more diversity of plant life there was than I had expected. So this one, the top one is called Backyard Haven, and it's by Karen Beery in San Diego Book Arts. And the bottom one is The Golden Gate Bridge by Gigi Babcock from Bay Area Book Artists. And it has actually a little plastic thing of flip-flops on the back. That's why I couldn't round that corner. I had to round the corners you'll see when you see my structure. This one is Santuario de Chimayo by Tracy Armagost from Santa Fe Book Arts Group. And the one on the right is San Diego Sunshine by Rosemary Ray from San Diego Book Arts. This is My Green Couch Quarantine Project by Brigitte Aubier from Bay Area Book Arts. And then the bottom one is Natural Items Collected on My Walks and Runs by Nancy Ballard from New England Book Arts. And the interesting thing about that one is the post office canceled it wrong, not only upside down, but on the wrong side. So like on the other side, the stamp is pristine, but this is the way she wanted it oriented because the type on the other side is that orientation. This one is Georgia O'Keeffe Country. It's Abiquiu, and it's by Monica Anderson from Santa Fe. And then obviously on the right is from Puget Sound. It's the 1962 World's Fair, what was then the tallest building in Seattle by John Arbuckle. And the top one is Blackberries by Rosie Arenas from the Northern California, Northern Redwoods Book Arts Guild. And then the bottom one is Proctor District in Tacoma by Tori Bell from Puget Sound Book Arts. The top one here is Changing Light and Colors of Water by Sally Alger from Puget Sound. And the bottom is Sailing Near Oceanside by Charlotte Carpentier from San Diego. And these are Black Raspberries by Alice Apley from New England Book Artists. And the bottom one is California Wine Regions by Susie Ahern from San Diego. And then this one is called Sonoran Spring by Annie Andre from Paperworks. And at the time she made this card, Annie didn't know that we were going to have rain all summer. I think we got all y'all's rain all summer, but we even have even more flowers blooming right now. So this is my basic book. It was a joke on me because I just thought doing traditional book structures would be too hard. So I thought maybe if I used fabric, it would be easier. And it wasn't. But I went to, I had to end up going to Joann, and I don't shop gratuitous or recreationally yet. So I really didn't want to go to a fabric store and wander around the aisles, but I had to because I couldn't find what I needed online. I couldn't feel it and touch it and and spark the creativity. So I ended up getting this fabric, which is cargo netting. And the book itself is one piece of fabric that is 18 pockets, because it's the 16 postcards plus the front and back covers. I wanted to be able to take the cards in and out should it ever be exhibited in person. And I wanted them to show a little bit. So, and I don't know what the fastener is. When I was Googling cargo netting, a lot of cargo netting is used in conjunction with bungee cords. So I started Googling bungee cords, and I ended up with this, which I think is something to do with swim goggles or diving goggles. The paper on the cover is some paper I had. It's not an antique map, but it's an antique map printed on Italian paper. And one of the nicest surprises, because I really procrastinated doing the gluing because I was just so nervous, it was kind of this irrevocable step. But once I did it, the paper was so nice to work with. I really enjoyed using it. And I really appreciate having this logo to work with. It's really a great logo with everybody else's logos too. And so thank you for the organizing and for making this logo and sharing it with us. And then this is the inside back cover, which includes Santa Fe and Boston. The front cover includes the Bay Area, San Diego, and Tucson. And then the back cover includes Seattle. And then I hope I got all the way down to the Northern California Redwood country. So that's my book.
Thank you, Sue. On your postcard, your individual postcard, did you hand color those each? It looked like colored pencil on them.
Yeah, it's ink and then colored pencil.
So did you print the ink and then hand color?
No, I drew them. That's why I
drew them all.
That's why I got tired of doing it. So,
wow.
Yeah. I did a thing called Sketchbook Revival in March, and John Muir Laws was one of the presenters, and he talked about journaling your everyday life in an art journal. And so I kind of was inspired by his presentation to do that one, the one with the desert adaptations. And then the other one was inspired by Karen Abend, who was saying do a line drawing of a plant and then simplify it. And then I didn't do the third step, which was reduce each element to a pattern or a design element. So
were each of your postcards unique, or did you draw the same drawing 11 times?
Well, I drew the same plan 11 times.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm thoroughly impressed with that.
I actually had to do it 12 times because my sister started giving me like Bambi eyes. Sister might like one.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you. There are beautiful, lovely comments for you in the chat. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Sue before we have Jie show her books?
Yes, I love the cactus. Absolutely beautiful. What was that book that you mentioned, Muir, or Journaling Every Day?
John Muir Laws, and he's not related to John Muir, the guy that
right.
But he you can find it. Laws is spelled L-A-W-S. You can find him by Googling. He's a kind of a superstar nature boy kind of thing. And he has these great glasses that unsnap, they're magnetic. But he has a website, John Muir Laws.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else for Sue before we see what Jie has to show us? Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay, thank you, Sue. I'm gonna spotlight Jie. There you go.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I just would like to thank Lori and the organizing committee for their fabulous work, and to all the artists that have just presented. Your creative art is just so inspiring and eye-opening. And I apologize, I probably profoundly misunderstood our project today. So my presentation will be more focusing on my process and my work instead of my group work. But I'm so grateful for the artists that have contributed to the book, to my book. So I will be starting with a few images that I created for the postcard. Again, thanks to the year-long process of collaborative project that's spearheaded by Lori and San Diego Book Arts. And I think this is our second collaborative project. Third group. Third? Yeah.
Third full collaborative during the pandemic, and the second one that brought in other organizations.
That's right. It is the third collaborative project. So for this whole process, I have been experimenting with an idea that I've been playing around. That is, what materials shall go into my making? And also, how can I return to simplicity? How can I use the natural living colors directly from plants and flowers in my work? So all these three collaborative projects, I have been experimenting with different things, from dyeing thread to printing, direct printing of plant images, to drawing, to pounding. So in this one, so here, those are some of the images. I also created this, could you see? I'm sorry, I didn't ask. Could you see the image?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have a weird thing in the window here. Let me move it. So I created these images, these cards around the super flower full moon. And it was a super flower bloody full moon. And the same way I felt as Virginia, I'm really sick and saddened by all the violence and bloodshed during the pandemic, during the protests and around the world. So I began to ask myself, in addition to bloody, the color of blood, what other colors the moon could be? So that's why you see these different images, different color play of the moon. And so primarily I have kind of two basic designs. One is this design with an image of the moon with some background colors and with a couple lines of verse. And here just playing with different colors and shapes, imagining moon and different phases of the moon. And this is one of the materials I have used. This is hummingbird sage. That's a native California plant. And all of a sudden I saw colors that I've never noticed before, even though it has lived for several years in my yard. So I started to play with the colors. And so to create images with all the cards that you've seen, I basically used 2 or 3 materials, some slightly dried, dark colored rose petals and walnut leaf, which I happened to be able to gather in my neighborhood. And so this is all the materials that I've used after they went into the card making. So a couple images of the cards. And I'm also very grateful for the logo that's created by our artist and the stamp Coven that's done by Lori. However, I took the liberty and altered the design. So this became my front cover. And these are the tremendous artworks of the artists in my group, number 11, including a couple of people who are here, Andrea Factor, Lori, and whoever. Apologize if I missed anyone. This is another design. So my structure is a pretty traditional flag book that's on the accordion spine. So we can view both the front and back sides of the cards. However, I do apologize because of the weight of the flap over here. Sometimes I would miss, a little bit of the address. Primarily a little bit of the address on the one side of the card. So here you'll get another way to display this book with the front and the back of the book. So, and I'm going to be ending that part of the book over here. And I'm going to do a new share just so that you'll get a sense of one process that I use to create one card design. And this is a short video, about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Did I already? I think I'll try to start. Okay.
Jie, are you using anything to make the colors, preserve the colors?
I didn't. So I was also trying to experiment to see how the color may last, may change over time. And a plant like the walnut has tannin in it. So supposedly the color should retain better if the plant has tannic acid. And if we don't deliberately expose them to light or to sun, the colors could also retain better.
It's so beautiful and elegant.
Thank you.
All this time, I thought I was just getting my jeans dirty when I was little, and I was actually creating art sliding through the grass.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. I love what Sue and everyone else has done to display your group work. I will definitely take photos of the images of each of the postcard I received and present them better. Thank you. I have received a lot of beautiful work. Thank you so much. I'll stop right there.
Jie, once again, there are lovely comments for you in the chat. So I hope that you make a point of reading them because people love what you're doing. And what you shared with us was completely appropriate. That's what we want to see. I mean, we're a group of individuals and we want to see each individual take on it, whatever direction it goes. And that was lovely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Does anybody have any more questions or comments for Jay before I have Charlotte show us what she's been doing? Okay. Charlotte, I'm going to spotlight you. Let me make sure I'm on the right person. Okay. Yay.
Hey, hello. I'm Charlotte Carpentier. I'm in Temecula, California. And I was in 2 groups. So you're going to freak out when you see my extra large book. So I'm going to switch screens here real quick. I am not share screening. I'm actually got a document camera. So I'm going to show you what's going on here. It's going to take a second for it to focus. So here's the front of my beautifully cool little book, little fat book. I have a goal this year of using only things that I already have because I have a plethora of art supplies in my house that need to get used. So everything you see, I already had. So from the shrinky dinks I made with my chop here, that's my my initials, CK. The beads, I found the Wish You Were Here beads. The maps, oops. The maps are from my significant other is a retired airline pilot, and they used to carry maps in a giant case around with them. So I rescued all his maps when he was getting ready to throw them away. I ironed them all and rolled them up, and now I have them for all posterity. So the one on the front cover is actually where I live, the little jewel here, that's Temecula, California. This is another Shrinky Dink piece from the logo. I printed a page of Shrinky Dinks. I had some extra space, so I wanted to use it all up. So I actually did a piece of my artwork from earlier this year. This was a drawing I did that was on a 4.5 inch, and it was a lot brighter orange. But this was a piece of art I did earlier in the pandemic, and I shrinky dinked it to make a pendant out of it because I had that going on. So all the beads are from my stash. The structure of the book is 2 front and back covers that are covered in the maps. The whole thing is stitched together with help me out here,
Slipknot or Lark's Head?
Slipknot, yeah, Lark's Head binding. I'm getting old and it's really starting to play. So I Lark's Head bound 33 pages because I got an extra postcard from Andrea Factor that I wanted to put in here too. And it came, I apologize, Andrea, that I didn't get mine to you before you probably put your book together. But on the back, my back cover map is actually where I grew up. I grew up in Tombstone, Arizona, in the southern Arizona area. So here's Tucson or Tombstone right there, going up through some parts of southern Arizona where I grew up. This is where my family's from. So that's all really cool. And I was born in California. So my structure was really kind of inventive here. I printed out the big logo here on another piece of map paper and stuck it down to my interior cover. I did grommet my front pieces, but how I attached each postcard was that I dyed some Tyvek. I buy sheets of Tyvek in a package. I know I can recycle mail, but nobody's using Tyvek mailers that much anymore. So they're hard to come by. You can paint or dye it with, I used a thinned out acrylic ink with a lot of sparkly stuff in it. So it uptook it. You can see kind of the sparkle in it. It also has kind of a grainy aspect that it absorbs the paint differently. So you get some cool splotchies, which makes it look really read quite nicely. So what I did was I made some spine bits. I enforced them in the middle with some score tape. So I score taped them together. I score taped one side to the postcard, and then I stitched it through my sewing machine with some pearl cotton in the top and some regular thread in the bottom. This was a process. I'm not gonna lie, but it was kind of it was a methodical process. So I have, like I said, I have 34 postcards in here. You can see front and back. Some of I'm not going to show you each and every card, but I will talk about my process on my postcards. On the group, I was in group 1 and group 8. All the group 1 people got the same, each group got the same postcard, but I made a different postcard for each group. So group 1 got a string pulled wave of water with the foamy bits, the sunshine and the beach sand, the golden beach sand that didn't come out so golden, were from stamps that I carved a couple of years ago. All the type on these, I ran all these postcards front and back through my printer and printed the California and then all of the text on the back and the dotted line. So each one was run through the printer. It was then, I did all the pull art, then I printed, then I did the stamps, the foam, and the pictures that are on each one were left over from another project. This is sailing. So everybody in the group 1 that got the sailing pictures got different pictures that I had left over. And the second card that I did was, we bought an airplane this year and flying back from the East Coast when we bought the airplane, flying over Temecula. This is wine country where I live. I had this background sun, again, is a stamp that I carved a couple years ago. The airplane and the little sun are stamps that I found, but I sponge painted clouds. And again, I ran it through the printer. And that was my process. Anybody have, and I even used the leftover strips from the Tyvek to add some interest in spots on the front and back covers to make it not so plain and to make it match. So you can display it this way, or you can display it this way. It's in my bookshelf like this, so all I see is that. So I remember how hard it was. It's not terribly floppy, but it's done with waxed linen. So it's staying together pretty well. I'm impressed that it's staying together at all, honestly. So that's it. That's my wish you were here. Does anybody have any questions?
That's beautiful, Charlotte. I'm so impressed that you did the Lark's Head slipknot binding with 33 sheets of paper. Actually 35 because your front and back cover. That's a long string.
So I have like a drafting height workbench and a drafting height table. I had since it's a 3-strand, I was sitting with it like this, and I had one strand between my legs and one strand and one set of strands on each side. So I was just going through and I was watching, I think I was watching Bridgerton. It took me like an episode and a half of Bridgerton to sew it.
That's pretty fast, actually.
Yeah, it went a lot quicker than I thought it would because I think the waxed linen helped too, that it didn't get tangled as much and it stuck to itself. Yeah. Because of the wax kind of sticks to itself. So that helped a lot. All the preparation leading up to that, it was done so quick, it was almost anticlimactic.
Yeah. And because you used the Tyvek strips, I think you made bigger holes than most of us would have done on the postcard itself. And that makes it go a lot faster.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to do that, is because I wanted to not damage the cards and leave as, I only, the end strip where it covers the postcard only covers, it covers less than 1/4 of an inch of the postcard in each case. And then it's in there with score tape, but I sewed it, so it's not, I don't think it's ever gonna come apart. But I used pearl cotton in my top needle. I had to find oh no, actually I used pearl cotton in my bobbin, sorry. So I had regular thread in my top needle and the pearl cotton in my bobbin, because my machine's set up that I can do bobbin work with, I can even put ribbon in it. So.
Wow. There are a lot of very happy comments to you in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Does anybody have any? Go ahead, Charlotte.
It was just, like I said, it was kind of a labor. It was fun because I got to use stuff I already had. I used things from that tools that I already have, like the crocodile for the grommets, my sewing machine. I found a thing of shrinky dinks in my paper cabinet that I could run through my printer. That was kind of fun. I've actually never played with them before, so that was kind of fun. Right down to the "Wish You Were Here" beads that were left over from a jewelry. I used to make jewelry a long time ago, so I have like a plethora of supplies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you. Okay, anything more for Charlotte before either I share my book, or I'm going to put it out there that if anyone else who hadn't originally signed up to share would like to share, is ready to share, or let me know. And if it's going to take you a second, if you want to share and it's going to take you a second to get yourself set up, let me know. But I will just speak up if you want to share, because we have a little bit more time. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spotlight myself. A minute. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to spotlight myself, and then I'm going to do a share screen. And again, if somebody wants to share, go ahead and just, message me or speak up, and I will let you share. Okay, so I apologize. My presentation is a little discombobulated because I thought I had prepared a PowerPoint, but I hadn't. So I'm just using photo album. It's okay. Anyway, this is my postcard. And the way I approached it was I had a reference photo of my daughter at 9 years old. She's the person in the middle down here. And two of her friends, the one on with the white shirt is Judy Christensen for San Diego Book Arts members. It's her daughter, Dana. They went to, my daughter went to Montessori Elementary with her. And then on the other side is another mutual friend of theirs. So they were 9 and 10. I had taken them on a tour of the UCSD Stewart collection. And we shot this photo, which was really fortuitous because this is, for me, one of my favorite pieces in the collection. And because it's the first piece that the collection acquired, it's important to me. I wanted to highlight it. And right now, UCSD is under like huge amounts of construction and work. And this piece is surrounded by fencing and you can't actually get to it. So I couldn't have gone and gotten a new photo, but I loved having my daughter and her friends as size reference to it. So what I did was I took that reference photo, I sized it down to the size of the postcard. I actually did a light tracing of it, and then I inked that tracing, printed the ink version. I scanned in the ink version, printed the ink version on the postcards, and then I hand colored each postcard. And when I've done this a couple of times, and what I do when I do that is I do all the gold on all the cards at once. And then I do all of one shade of green on all the cards. And I run through it like an assembly line, because I found if I tried to do it piecemeal, it took me longer and I missed things and it didn't come out. Anyway, so that's my process on the card. And then on the side of the card, I said, you know, I explained about the Niki de Saint Paul Sun God 1983 first work commissioned by the UCSD Stewart Collection. And I mentioned my process, inkjet on Arches, cold press, hand watercolored. I also, so in the logo design, Christina Hajosi designed the logo. She came up with the concept. During the committee meetings, when she came up with it, I got so excited about it. I was like, I need to go carve a stamp. And so I carved this stamp and said, look what I did. I love your logo so much. And she said, okay, well, that's just the logo. And then she took a photo of my carved stamp and cleaned it up so that the actual finished logo is cleaner than my rougher stamp. But that's the genesis of the logo. So I have my stamp. So I stamped it on the postcards. And then I said to everyone, when you come to San Diego, we'll go on my favorite public art tour, the Outdoor Stewart Collection, taking a leisurely 3-mile stroll around the eucalyptus-filled campus. We'll stop to enjoy over 20 sculptures. Wish you were here, and then sign my name. So that's my postcard. This is my finished book. I also did, you can see here, this is the slipknot or lark's head binding. I covered a map with my stamp for the cover. And I also made a little, I had a little pouch that I altered slightly, and I put an extra book in that, and I'll show you that in a second. And I physically attached it to the main book because I wanted it connected, and I'll talk about that in a second. If you see here, I have 2 stacks of the postcards because for one thing, as I was discussing with Charlotte, she was able to put, using the tie back, she made big holes. I made smaller holes because I didn't want to put that much of a hole into the postcards. And that's what I was doing. I was in one group, but I was so lucky. I received, at this point, for this version of the book, I received 14 additional postcards from people who said, I just want to send you a postcard. And I am so grateful for that generosity. So I ended up with 30 postcards plus some, I added extra pages, 2 full-length pages in the front and 1 in the back that had history of the project, and then also like my colophon. So I was stitching together 15 plus 3 is 18, plus the covers is 20. And so that's why I broke it up into the 2, because I have 20 and 20 on each side, or each stack. So that was my approach to dealing with it. This is showing an in process of me stitching them. And these are stones that I picked up at Ponto Beach with Gina Pisello when she took me to go looking for glass pieces. And I've been using them as paperweights in my studio. And so here I am stitching away. And this is the front cover. This is the back cover. And I did on the front cover, I had California. I didn't actually get all the way down to, I didn't realize this. Anyway, I have California represented. I have the Northeast represented on the back cover. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around because I didn't lay these out properly. I'm gonna I'm gonna jump back to my structure. Okay. On the inside front cover, and this is actually, I'm gonna flip this because this is actually the way it reads. I took a map of the US and I stitched the routes of the different postcards and I color coded them according to the organization that they were representing. After I did this, I realized I had missed one, where was it, from right here in southeastern Colorado, I think it was. Anyway, I got upset about that, and I was trying to figure out if I could glue some thread on, and Gina said, I showed it to Gina and she said, just use a gel pen. And I went, okay. So I haven't photographed that, but I did just draw a gel pen line over there, and it's not perfect, but that's the way it is. Okay, let me jump back again, and I apologize. Okay, so here is then, so this is the front title page, has the full logo with all of the organizational logos and the names of the groups. And just to talk about fallibility, if you notice right here along the edge, you can see a line on this paper. After I had bound the entire book, I realized that I had misnamed Santa Fe Book Arts Group and I had called it Guild, and it made me mad. So I reprinted the page and just glued it on because it was important to me. And I had to do that again on this one. So amazingly, I had not miswritten it on this page, which was I was using from copying and pasting something, but the title page and this first page of the history where I was just typing, I misnamed the group. So anyway, so I had to do the same thing. I reprinted the page and just glued it down so that that would be correct. I'm sure that there are more typos because I know myself, but that's what I've found so far and what I was able to fix. Okay. I'm trying to do this in slightly, okay. Here's my inside back cover, and it has, so this is just the inside back, and then there's 2 pages of the colophon. I think I've got that. I'll show you the other one, but this is the additional contributors, people who generously sent me postcards above and beyond their group requirement. This is my group 8 contributors. Okay, and let me see. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the little book. So here's my little pouch. It has my stamp on it, and I use the same thread to stitch a blanket stitch around it and to make a closure for it. And then this is a little book, and it's about an inch thick. It's very small. I think it's roughly 3 by 3. It's very small and dense, but it's called Affirmations. And during this project, I received so many just incredibly lovely thank yous and appreciations and everything. And I've talked with others of you about this. I think women in particular, we have a hard time giving importance and recognition of compliments we receive. Well, we often sort of put more emphasis on negative comments. And I've been struggling with this idea, the idea of why do I put so much importance on, you know, the negativity and not enough importance on the positivity that I receive? And so I gathered together in this little book, I mean, I think it's something like 66 pages of really kind and generous comments. And so there's the little cover of it. The funny thing is, after I got it all made, I've continued to get just incredibly kind and generous comments. And I'm thinking I'm going to make a little addendum and keep that in the bag as well, make another separate little one. The paper that I printed it on, and I printed this using my little home printer, and using, I think it's called Dakota handwriting is the font. And it's in bold in there, and I don't think I have an inside. I don't think I have anywhere the book is actually open. But anyway, I've showed it to people and they're like, you hand printed all this? I'm like, no. I printed on the computer. Anyway, so I've lost train of my thought. But anyway, that's my little book that I am thrilled with. Let me just quickly run through. Okay, so let's see. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Since I completely bound and finished this book, I received one more postcard, and I'm like, okay, what can I do with that? I said, okay, so I made a vellum envelope, and I haven't photographed it yet because I keep forgetting that I need to prepare things. So I made a little vellum envelope that I've attached to the inside back cover that I can just slip the card into. And so that's the way I've dealt with more stuff. I'm trying to keep it all complete. And I just also want to mention that I mentioned about how I wanted to make sure that my book was physically attached. My little affirmations book is physically attached to the big book, because for me, it's so connected. It's so connected, and I wanted it. I didn't want it to, you know, get separated and become on its own anything. I wanted them to be together. So sorry. So let me now just run through and show. Okay, I'm just going to show, and I apologize. I'm not going to remember who did every postcard. And I truly apologize about that, because I loved every one of them. And I don't want to say it's from so-and-so and so-and-so because I'll get it wrong. So, and when I dealt with, you know, horizontal landscape versus portrait, what I did was on the back side, I had all the text and addresses running the same direction, and I just organized them that way. And there's Gina's and Jay's. The variety, the thought, the direction that each card took, you know, there's so much variety and creativity in this project. It just thrills me. And seeing how everybody essentially took the same content and made all these different structures, it makes me so happy. So yeah. I just want to mention, this is Patsy Monk's, and somebody else was mentioning Patsy's. In order to get that feather to us safely. She actually put all of her postcards into a little clear, like glassine envelope and mailed it that way. But she did get them hand stamped before she put them into the envelope. So on the back side, and maybe this is hers. I think this, yeah, this is Patsy's. So there's her, she still has the cancellation, although it went inside of a little glassine envelope. And I think others of us put our postcards to some people I know. Anyway, some people did mail them in envelopes, but generally when they did that, they would get them hand stamped. And so they still had the cancellation, even though, anyway. Yeah. So that is mine. Does anybody have any questions or comments for me before I stop the sharing of my screen? Okay. And does anybody else want to share anything that they have? We have still 20 minutes for the hour. There's a lot of comments, so it's hard for me to run through the comments. If anybody else wants to share anything, speak up. Okay. Thank you so much. So if anybody wants to share anything outside of this project or anything, Virginia?
I didn't show my own postcards.
Okay.
So, and I still have them in the slideshow, so I could do that.
Absolutely.
It'd be very short.
Yes, I'm going to replace the spotlight. There you go.
I have to get myself back to the beginning. So that will, oh wait, okay. That will probably take a moment to paint. Let me know when it is clear.
There you go. Yeah.
Is it painted now? Okay.
Yes, I can see it.
So my neighborhood is, okay. I live in a wonderful neighborhood, and a couple of people in my neighborhood have for several years, and now a bunch of the rest of us have gotten on a bandwagon where we're doing something about helping the Western monarch survive extinction, which is very close to doing. So I made my postcards about the Western monarch, and I can read the little essay I wrote everybody. It's short because it's a postcard, but I will read that as I slowly go through the 5 different hand watercolor, pencil, and ink drawings that I did individually on each postcard. It took a long time. Okay, so I used the logo at the top, wish you were here, ... to see the monarchs. 17 neighbors are growing native milkweed for the Western monarchs, which are on the edge of extinction. Monarch caterpillars only eat milkweed, which is becoming scarce. Many moths and butterflies rely on a single native plant. If we lose these insects, we also lose birds. Caterpillars are the primary food for baby birds, plant natives. And then I included in California, there's an organization called calflora.org. And nationally, there's nativeplantfinder.org. And you can find out what kinds of plants you can put in your yard that will support native insects, which then support birds, etc. So it was a conservation kind of a message. And that's all I had left to share.
That is beautiful, Virginia. Is each of your cards unique?
No, I did five designs. I actually traced photographs in Illustrator and then printed the fine line drawings and then colored it all in with the colored pencils.
So you hand colored each postcard?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes. There's 5 different designs, the 5 that I showed.
Yeah. And let me just ask, did you do it as an assembly line or did you do one postcard at a time?
I did them one at a time because there was so much detail in each one with the flowers, and it was just, they were too complicated. I won't do that again.
Yeah. I was just mentioning my approach is I would do, all of the orange on all the postcards and then go and do all of the pink and then like that. And that kept me focused. And
I had so much though that I needed to break it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was frequently, I was going, I'm glad I'm done with those flowers. Now I can do a monarch, or I can do the inking.
Yeah. 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 It's the producing the similar but different ones for each one it's an interesting process, and how we all came up with, how we were going to produce our postcards.
Yeah, I always tend to bite off more than I can really chew.
Yeah.
I made it though. I actually ended up making my own postcard while I was digging weeds in Colorado in July and sending it to myself right at the end.
Ah.
I barely got my postcard in the mail by the time I was ready to put it in the book.
Yeah. Wonderful.
So that was all I just wanted to share. I hadn't shared that part of the presentation, so I wanted to do that. Thank you.
Virginia, where are you located? Are you on the West Coast or where?
Yes, I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. I live in Mountain View, which is in the south, and it's closer to San Jose than it is to San Francisco.
That's where my sister
Silicon
lives.
Valley.
I'll have to tell her to grow to plant some milkweeds.
Yes, please do. And no matter where you live, it's not just monarchs, it's all kinds of native insects and plants that go together, because baby birds get fed they need soft baby food just like our babies do. And so if we plant exotics from Africa or China or someplace, the caterpillars don't feed on those plants. They don't, they've evolved over millions of years just to eat on certain plants, which is kind of crazy, but that's why it's important to plant natives wherever you live. These websites that I mentioned, CalFlora or Native Plant Finder, you can go to those, you can Google either one, and it has a place for you to put in your own zip code. And it'll come up with a list of all of the native plants that trees down to annuals, everything in between, that you can plant in your yard. If you're thinking about changing your yard up a little bit or adding something, look up plant natives, and you'll get a lot of bang for your buck.
Yeah, it's true.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me share that last piece.
Absolutely. I'm going to unspotlight you just to take the pressure off. Emmy Nelson just asked me about the workshop for the Lark's Head binding, and is it still online? And I just want to mention that Celine Fisher did 3 book structure workshops for us, and I got such excellent feedback on how wonderful they were, but she feels embarrassed, I guess, about them, and doesn't want them shared past the end of August. So if you want to see the video, make sure that you go, and I sent out an email a week or so ago, or 2 weeks ago, I don't know, with all the video links. Make sure that you look at that before it goes offline at effectively midnight on the 31st. But there's also a PDF for that and her other bindings. She created really nice PDFs, and those are available. Those are in those emails to be printed. So you have that even if you don't get to see her actual video. I think that's everything that I have. Does anybody else have anything that they want to say or show or anything before we stop the recording and stop the meeting? Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, our audience. Thank you to our presenters. You guys all did a fabulous job. Everybody did it their own way, and that was wonderful. And I hope for those of you who will be presenting in future meetings like this, that you've gotten some ideas about what you want to do. Thank you to our audience members. I mean, I always feel so blessed whenever people want to look at my books or touch them or read them or watch a presentation like this. And I really want to thank everybody for coming and watching us. Okay, anything else before? Thank you. I think that's everything. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.